by fair citizens of Sodium City. Today we have a special video. There was a lot of people that requested a video, really based on a whim, something I was talking about during another video, just kind of talking about the process of how I brew a deck, what's going on in my mind, and every little thing that I look at. So this is that video. If you want to see more videos like this, then obviously let me know what you want to see in the comments section below, and obviously stay salty. Enjoy the video. And before we get into it, just as a disclaimer, if your deck sucks, it's not my fault, all right? All right, so this is going to be a little bit different of a video. This is where I'm going to go through and really just describe and walk you through my process and how I brew a deck from the ground up, going from my mind to the deck, whether it's in paper or MTGA. First of all, I just want to say that this little icon underneath the packs thing, when all of these are locked, bugs the shit out of me. Every single time I open up Arena, I'm like, oh, I have packs to open. And I never have packs to open. And it doesn't go away. It doesn't fucking go away. Oh my God, that makes me so mad. I'm unrationally mad about this. And it really pisses me off. I don't know why. Anyway, getting to the subject at hand. First thing you want to do, obviously, start a new deck, go to Historic, because Historic is the only real format. Nobody gives a fuck about any other format, and if you do, then you're wrong. So, there you go. So a lot of times what I end up doing is I will just filter for rares and mythics, click 7+, and then apply. Now what this does is this just gives me a list of all the rares and mythics that are 7 converted mana cost and higher. So typically I just use this for a clean slate as far as, okay, what is going to be my win condition? Because typically a decent win condition is going to be 7 mana value or higher, you know? So we have things like Approach of the Second Sun. We have Elish Norn. We have Maria's Call, you know, it's a land, but can still be a win condition. You know, there's all sorts of stuff. Triumphant Reckoning, Zatalpa, Epiphany, Curibus, the Sea Gods. Again, there's just like tons and tons and tons of things. Omniscience, Jingataxis. There's so many different things you want to choose from. So a lot of times, what you want to do is you start out with a color combination or a specific card. So if you're like, hey, I really like, well, what's a card that we like? Captive Audience. I really like Captive Audience. Captive Audience is legitimately one of my favorite cards. So let's just throw in Captive Audience. Using 4 is probably a bit too much, so we'll go 3. Captive Audience, 7 mana value. It's both black and red. So the next question is, do we want to throw in a 3rd color or a 4th color? Rarely will I go to 4 colors. It really just depends on the deck that I'm making. Usually I'll stick to 2 or 3. So in this particular case, at least right now, what I have noticed is that there are a lot of haste creatures, but there's also a lot of graveyard stuff. So almost instantly I say, okay, what we need is you have to have white for Authority of the Consul and or life gain, or you just need board wipes with the everything that you have available in white and or black. So in every single deck right now, I say you have to have black or white. If you're going in the like jank route, that's not heavy control with counter spells, or if you're not going the aggro route, you're going to need a copious amount of board wipes, something that's not in red, like Anger of the Gods, because Anger of the Gods I love, right? I absolutely love Anger of the Gods. The problem with Anger of the Gods is that it is only going to do 3 damage to everything. Now currently there's just so many cards that get up to 4 toughness or higher so quickly. Either if they're on the play and it's a white-green deck, they're going to get something at 4 toughness before you even get to turn 3. So if you don't have single target removal, you're just going to lose, which is unfortunate, but it is the reality of the situation. So what we can do is we can either suck it up and be like, okay, well, we lose those matchups, which we never really want to do. I never really want to admit by default defeat, but if you don't run black or white, you're most likely going to run into those problems, like 9 times out of 10, right? So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So a lot of times what I'll do is, since we're just going to, for this instance, we're just going to stick with black and red because it's easier. So black has some awesome ones. Ritual Soot right now is just absolutely ridiculous. Ritual Soot gets rid of all the slivers, like every fucking sliver, which is ridiculously good, right? So we destroy slivers, we destroy every Cocoa deck, because Collected Company, if you don't know, Collected Company, look at the top 6 cards of your library, put 2 creature cards with the mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Obviously, Ritual Soot, destroy all creatures with the mana value 3 or less. So they're like Collected Company, and I'm like, Ritual Soot. It just lose, right? So it's fantastic. The problem with that is that they can collect a company at the end of my turn, which means they can still attack on their turn. So that is a big problem, and that is why usually I have white so we can run Settle the Wreckage. So without running white, we're gonna run into a problem to where we have to deal with haste creatures somehow. But before then, we are still going to add some additional board wipes. I still really like Extinction Event. I'll usually keep 2 or 3 of them in there because there are still some indestructible creatures roaming around, and we really have to kill those. So that's what we're gonna do. The thing is, right now, is that all of our board wipes are 4 mana. So either we have to run Anger of the Gods, which again, I do really like this card because it does exile, but it only does 3 damage to everything. So I personally really like it. I almost always run it. If I'm running red, I will always run it unless I'm running ramp. So that is the next question. If I'm going to do no Anger of the Gods, what I would have to do is I would have to run Mind Stone and or Cold Steel Heart. So again, 2 mana, it's a mana rock. 2 mana, it's a mana rock. So then turn 3, I'm able to cast Ritual Soot or Extinction Event instead of just relying on Anger of the Gods, right? So depending on the meta, at that particular time of when you're playing, that's when you decide, okay, I'm going to run 4 Anger of the Gods because I can, or I'm going to run 4 mana rocks instead. 4 mana rocks can be very, very useful instead of Anger of the Gods because it gets you up to Captive Audience 1 turn earlier, which obviously is fantastic. But then it also depends on what else you want to add to the deck. So we're going to just go 2 and 2 right now. This just is kind of like a placeholder. We're either going to go 4 mana rocks or we're either going to go 4 Anger of the Gods, right? So that is why I'm just putting 2 of each. And most likely I will throw in Cold Steel Heart depending on how mana dependent. So if I was running something like Iron Crag Feet, see how it's triple red? If I were to run something like this, then I would definitely run Cold Steel Heart because it taps for an actual color and not just a colorless like Mind Stone. Mind Stone does draw us a card though, so it does have its advantages in and of itself. This also comes into play untapped and Cold Steel Heart doesn't. However, Cold Steel Heart is a snow artifact, which means we can run something like Blood on the Snow, which is destroy all creatures or destroy all planeswalkers. Then return a creature or planeswalker card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast this spell. So since it is snow mana, Cold Steel Heart taps for snow mana. Blood on the Snow is more viable with Cold Steel Heart, obviously, than it would be over Mind Stone, because Cold Steel Heart adds snow mana, which is awesome, right? It's great. So that typically, I will almost only run Blood on the Snow if I'm running Planeswalkers. So that's the next question. Do we want to run Planeswalkers, or do we want to go more all in on the Captive Audience and Control Train? We could go more enchantments than not. That's also a thing. But speaking of enchantments, there are a ton of enchantments right now, at least in my experience. So destroy enchantment. There's not many options. For the most part, we're going to have feed the swarm and that's it. Alternatively, we can run libation, Phyrexia's libation, and make them sacrifice an enchantment at instant speed, which is great. But they get to choose what enchantment to sacrifice, which does suck, depending on how many they have. Being able to do feed the swarm is nice. It does suck that it's not an instant, but it's something, right? It is something. So, since Jumpstart came out recently-ish, what I want to do is I want to just look at some of the new shit, right? I like incorporating new stuff from new sets, just kind of mess around with it. So we are going to do equals MH. So I came out with a video, if you're watching this video, as it goes live yesterday. I released a short that shows you how to search for all of the cards for Modern Horizons and Jumpstart, because right now in the filter section, you can only filter for Historic Horizons, Jumpstart, but you can't actually look for Historic Horizons. It's only Jumpstart Historic Horizons. So everything from Historic Horizons 1 and 2 don't show up when you search for it. So there is this little string of text. So E is the set name, and then J21 is Jumpstart 21, MH1 is Modern Horizons 1, and MH2 is Modern Horizons 2. And then you just put an or in between each one. Anyway, so then we take a look at all the new cards and see if there is something in black, red, or colorless that we might find that could work with this, right? We just look around and see what we can find. So when I'm going through these cards, usually what I'll do is I'll just go to the sideboard and add one of everything. So currently, Ransack the Lab looks kind of cool. I might use it, depends if I use Professor Onyx or not. And then again, I don't know all the cards. I don't read all of the cards when I go through the spoilers and stuff. Typically, when I look at the spoilers, I go through the rares and mythics, and that's basically it. So I'm just going to go through all the cards, find out what I like, add everything into the sideboard, see if anything works with the particular deck of Captive Audience, and kind of go from there. So let's see. All right, so I didn't see anything in red, but in black, you know, this one seems okay. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest in your graveyard. This is just fun. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this. As far as just getting the exact card you need, black has some problems with card draw, so this is pretty good, right? Sudden Edict, target player sacrifices a creature, can't be countered, basically, which is great. Davriel Soulbroker, I do like Davriel, because there are some conditions that you get that are ridiculously good. Treasure Keeper is interesting to me. I've never used it before, but it kind of reminds me of what Yahini's Expertise. All creatures get -3/-3, may cast spell with the mana value 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. This is reveal non-land card with mana value 3 or wait. Reveal cards from the top of your library. Yeah, and that's just when it dies. So if I were to play this, the Treasure Keeper, which I might just play because I've never used it before, I don't want to use Anger of the Gods, because Anger of the Gods exiles things. And since this is a 3 toughness, it wouldn't technically die, it would go into exile. So this ability would never actually go off. So instead of running Anger of the Gods, I would either just not run it at all. So I would run the extra mana rocks, which is also very good because this is 4 mana, which means mana rock on 2 means everything I have for 4 mana is almost guaranteed on turn 3 instead of turn 4, which I do like. So that is probably what I'm gonna do. So let's do Treasure Keeper, because I've never used it before. Why not? Why not? Treasure Keeper. Keeper. And go up to 4 Cold Steel Hearts, 4 Mind Stones. And let's see what else we got. I feel like we definitely need some life gain. Captive Audience, currently, we need card draw. So there are a few things we need. Number 1, win condition. Number 2, card draw. Number 3, board wipes. Number 4, life gain? Probably. Number 5, removal for planeswalkers, enchantments, and artifacts. So currently, this is our only removal for planeswalkers. So might as well just have a couple of those in here for now. I don't mind that. Putting in Duress or Thoughtseize is an option, but I don't particularly like those cards. Just out of principle. I think it's degenerate, but they're probably really good. I don't think they're good if you don't have life gain, though. If you're not an aggro deck and you don't have life gain, I believe Thoughtseize is a very bad card. I'm probably the only person on the planet that thinks that, so I'm probably incorrect. But in my experience, that is just how it is. So, few things that we can do. I kind of want... Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. I definitely don't mind Angrass Rampage, because it deals with artifacts, planeswalkers, and creatures. The deck Bedazzle is great, but I don't think we need it. What does this do? Nothing good. Kroza. So if we do Kroza, I think we definitely do Ransack the Lab, right? And Kroza's just like a secondary win condition type thing. Kroza's pretty good. We'll throw it in there as a maybe, right? The Devil, obviously amazing. Probably our main form of instant speed removal. Theater of Horrors, I'm a huge fan of. I love this for card draw. The problem is I don't know how we're going to deal 1 damage to them on our upkeep every single turn. That I don't know. So if we can find a way to do damage to them on our turn, it has to be on our turn. So something like Angrath, but that's expensive, obviously. Ill-Gotten Inheritance works as well. That's a decent win condition. But then you run into the problem that if somebody has enchantment blow up everything, then we're absolutely fucked. But it's funny. So... okay, so we could do Bedevils, those, and then Ill-Gotten Inheritance. I don't think Blood on the Snow is going to be good here. Currently, 24 lands. Depending on what your curve is like, is what you'll need to do for your land. So right now, 24 lands. But our curve is relatively low. Our most expensive card is Captive Audience, and we only have 3 of them. Outside of that, our top end is 4 mana, and we have 8 mana rocks. So I think legitimately, 24 lands is actually perfectly fine. I think it's actually fine. So I may just go up to 4 Bedevils, but at the same time, maybe I'll go 2 Languishes. I really don't like Languish. I worry about Languish. But could still be fine with Treasure Keeper, right? Treasure Keeper, Extinction Event could technically kill it if we have to do it for even. So maybe Languish is the move. Do 2 extinction events, 2 languishes, and 4 soots. Is that right? Maybe do 3 of everything. I do want to go to a 4th ill-gotten inheritance, because if I'm doing 4 Theater of Horrors, 3, 6, 9 board wipes, is 9 board wipes going to be enough? Probably go down to 3 Feed the Swarms. I don't think we need that many single target. So currently we're in the spot where we need to cut 1 card. Right now, Treasure Keeper is the only, like, weird off card. So Feed the Swarm is our enchantment removal. I don't really want to go below 3 of those. Our card draw is Theater of Horrors. But we have to be able to proc it either with the 4 mana from its ability or through Ill-Gotten Inheritance. So I want to make sure I have 4 Ill-Gotten Inheritance to help guarantee the card draw. But Devil is going to be our main Planeswalker removal, so I don't really want to go down past 3 of them. Plus, it's also instant creature removal if we need to do that as well. I still worry about Mind Stone. Maybe I'll go down to 3 Mind Stones. Do that. That's probably what I want to do. Then the next thing, obviously, we need to make sure we get rid of their graveyard. So, Bajugabog is probably the best thing that we can do. Bajugabog is amazing. Great lands. So at this point, now we're just going to mess around with the lands. Probably going to do some special ones. We'll run a couple of the Black Castles, because currently we have no life gain. So I'm a little worried. Well, we do have Ill-Gotten Inheritance, but... So I guess we do have life gain. It's not a lot, but it's there. It's there. It's there. So maybe Professor Onyx later down the road, depending on what the testing looks like. But overall, I think those are the only real... I am very, very, very close to adding 1 Phyrexian Tower. Just because we have Treasure Keepers. Because I can sacrifice 1 of them to cast something for 3. But also add 2 black sources. I had 1. 1 for the memes, right? 1 for the memes. Everything else, probably fine. I definitely love Valakut Awakening. I would love to go 4, but I don't think it's possible right now. So then, let's go that. Let's go a couple cycle lands. Let's go a couple of those. I was like 32 lands. All right. So this is what we're looking at right here. Looking at Captive Audience for our main win condition. Obviously, a potential side win condition is for Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Our card draw is going to be Theater of Horrors, which is one of my favorite cards. We have a couple Valakut Awakenings to help smooth out the draws. Our removal is going to be Feed the Swarm, Bedevil, Extinction Event, Languish, and Ritual Soot. We have this random ass Treasure Keeper. I don't know what else to say about that. But Treasure Keeper can get our Valakut Awakening, our Theater of Horrors, our Bedevil, our Feed the Swarm, or any of our ramp spells, right? I like the fact that I can actually get our Valakut Awakening. I like that a lot. So, I'm for it. I'm for it. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Honestly, I'm a big fan of the Scrylands right now. I know everyone hates them. Everyone says they're horrible. I actually really like the Scrylands. Just adding a couple in there, I think helps. It helps late game. Early game, it can suck. Well, let's say turn like 3, when you're forced to put it down on turn 2 or 3, that kind of sucks. Turn 1, obviously I don't have anything to do on turn 1, so I don't care. But if you have a normal land on turn 1 and then turn 2, you top deck a Scryland and you have no other lands, I mean, I don't know why you would keep a 1 land hand, but you know what I mean. It is very, very scary I don't necessarily like that, but at the same time, you do get to scry for a land from that. So, I mean, potato, right? It can be good, it can be bad. It really just depends on how you look at it. Most people hate it because the mana isn't available right away, but I think scrying is very, very powerful in these colors. The cycle land, this is just nice later on. It does count as a swamp and a mountain, which doesn't do anything in this deck specifically, except for the Castle of Locthwain, because this requires you to have a swamp in order for it to come into play untapped, which is fine. We only have 2 swamps, but then we also have the 4 blood crypts and the 2 canyon slows, or whatever the fuck they're called. So this is the deck. I'm interested to see how this performs, but if you're interested, you're gonna have to hit that subscribe button and like button, bell notification. The video on this, the actual deck gameplay, will come out tomorrow if you're watching this the day it comes out. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you tomorrow. And as for yesterday's comment question of the day, I asked you, what's your favorite enchantment? Here are your answers. And if you want your comment featured in these videos, make sure that you answer the comment question of the day every single day, 7 days a week in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to this point, it means you either really enjoyed the video or you fell asleep and I'm waking you up now. Either way, thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, come out with videos 7 days a week.